Hi and welcome to the Dittonworks YouTube channel, where today, finally, I'm going to do a review on my Spendor Classic 2.3s and the HiFi Racks Fortis stands.
On speakers.
Okay, it's enough messing about. So, Spendor. The lineage of these classic 2.3 speakers goes all the way back to when the SP2 originally came out. Now the SP2 has evolved into the SP22, the SP23, the SP23E, the SP23R2, and finally the much more manageable Classic 2.3. So what we've got here is a modern day take on the classic Spendor speaker, hence the name Classic. Let's have a closer look at them. I believe these were first released in about 2017, 2018, but they're an up-to-date brand new model from Spendor in their Classic series. And the differences here between the earlier model, the SP23R2, thank goodness they've dropped all of those digits from the name, is quite huge, to be honest with you. First of all, the front baffle has been stiffened, which in my opinion is going to give it a more controlled, probably more powerful bass response. And they've reduced the size of the port because you could hear the ports a little bit on the earlier model. So stiffer front baffles, smaller ports, so you're keeping the bass in check and in balance. The overall cabinet dimensions are much the same as they always were. Beautifully finished. I mean, the level of craftsmanship on these cabinets is absolutely fantastic, as you'd expect from Spendor. Spendor actually own a company that make cabinets for other manufacturers, so they're extremely high quality. Something that I love on modern speakers is losing the little pegs, the little peg holes for where you were clipping on the grill cloths. So I absolutely love the fact that that neatens up the baffle when you've just got a magnetic attachment to put the grill back on. So the earlier model did have a similar tweeter to this, so this is a CAS unit, but it's tuned by Spendor for their requirements, and then an all new, totally different bass driver. So if we just talk about the earlier models for a second, the SP22, the SP23 and the SP23R2 all shared the same chassis. So the surround, the coil, the cone might have been different and upgraded, but this is a completely new chassis. It's a magnesium alloy, so it's much lighter and potentially stiffer, and able to knock out some of those some of the resonance in the chassis itself. Different cone material. The surround is now outwardly rolled instead of inwardly rolled, and that might affect bass extension. I'm not 100% sure why they chose to do that, but clearly they thought it was an improvement. Phase cap, which is going to help with the phase alignment as it crosses between the drive units, and as the bass drive gets to the upper end of its crossover point, so as it's right at the top of its frequency range before it crosses over to the tweeter, that phase cap is going to help no end. Just a little bit more on the speakers themselves. I was asked the other day about running the grills on or off. I actually prefer running the grills on, which is a shame because these look phenomenal with the grills off. Anyway, back to the speakers themselves. So the cabinets, as I often demonstrate, they are that BBC style of lossy cabinet, or what should probably be called a lively cabinet, because these are very musical speakers. What I'm going to do now is take the speaker off the stand and we'll have a little bit of a chat about the actual HiFi Racks Fortis stands themselves. My apologies, I've had to put the camera really low to be able to show you these. So still on the subject of the lossy cabinets or the lively cabinets, these HiFi Racks stands were designed in conjunction with Spendor by HiFi Racks to match sonically and aesthetically the Spendor Classic 2.3s perfectly. Now what's interesting here is these little gel sort of dots that they provide you with sit right at the corner of the cabinet, where the cabinet is probably the stiffest, so the least resonant. And what I think is beautiful about that is they're being supported at the area where it affects it the least. Now the only reason I'm mentioning this is when I had the Spendors on the Haybrook stands when I was running them in, they were sitting too high and there was a platform on the top of the stand which wasn't allowing the bottom of the cabinet to resonate the way it should. Sitting them on these stands has now put them at the correct height, which has massively improved the HF. And it allows the bottom part of the cabinet to breathe more easily because this whole area here is open. Now, these stands are beautifully made. I've got to give kudos to HiFi racks. They're fantastically made. And the contours of the stand absolutely perfectly match the cabinet of the Spendor in every way. Absolutely finishes them off, not only aesthetically, but acoustically. A little bit more on the sound in a minute. The only thing I wish I'd done, had I have looked a bit more carefully on HiFi rack stands, is HiFi racks offer a wider, bigger spike. That's the only thing I'm not really overly keen on, so I will be ordering a bigger spike. It's a larger cone, which I think just neatens them up slightly, but I don't think it's going to affect the sonic characteristics too much, to be honest with you. So again, apologies for how low the camera is, but this is what I mean about the contour. So this beveled edge of the cabinet is perfectly matched as it comes down through the stand. What a lovely finishing touch. Absolutely finishes off these speakers perfectly. Right, let's have a chat about the sound of these. So the actual sound quality of the speakers is, I've got to continue on the stand side of things for a minute because it's important. When I first got the Spendors, I was using one that Haybrook HB1 stands, which were the only thing I had that would actually hold a speaker of that size. And initially, while I was running the speakers in, I did think that the HF was a little bit rolled off, and I did think the bass was a little bit, not overblown, but a little bit overbearing. Now, when I've put them on those stands, two things have happened. A, the bottom part of the cabinet is now able to breathe properly, and they're at the correct height. So while I'm in a seated position like this, the tweeters are pretty much exactly at ear height, and that has massively changed the HF. The level of detail that is now coming out of the tweeters was not apparent when they were on the wrong stands, which even if you look at the off-axis response, say, of a tweeter, it's still going to give you HF, but with the on-axis coming straight at you, absolutely fantastic. Now, the bass is another thing worth mentioning. I think that on the wrong stands, the bass drivers were sitting too high, which is why I was experiencing potentially too much low frequencies. With the speakers now at the right height, in my listening position, with this ability to let the cabinets breathe properly, we've got a completely different sounding speaker. It's absolutely made them come alive. These are now an absolute joy to listen to. Initially, I thought, blimey, Spendor haven't really achieved much from the earlier models. I was actually questioning myself, thinking, have I made a mistake here? Did they really not achieve anything? Was this just a big marketing campaign of a new model that's come out? Well, I've got to say no to all of that. These are way better than the ones I had before. The bass, the detail, the clarity. The other thing that's very important as well is these will play significantly louder. Now, I don't want to sit here and promote that we all should be blasting our speakers out at maximum level all the time, but every now and again we do tend to turn the wick up just slightly and appreciate a very powerful and dynamic piece of music, and these will do that so well. I am very, very pleased with them, and I think this is a combination between HiFi rack stands and the wizardry of Spendor. Anyway, I'm not going to play any video clips of them, audio clips, of them playing. I will post one later on of them just on their own so you guys can hear what you think of them. But for now, that's the Ditton Works review on the HiFi racks, Fortis stands and the Spendor Classic 2.3s. I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, guys. I'll see you soon.